Hello, I'm Dr. Anjali Bhatawdekar. I'm a pediatrician.
Hello, I'm Dr. Manoj Bhatawdekar. I'm a psychiatrist.
Today, in this first session on parenting by Dr. Bhatawdekars Clinic's YouTube channel, we are going to talk on the development of preschoolers.
Well, a question which is very often asked is what is the difference between growth and development? The answer is very simple. Growth is quantitative. For example, increase in the child's height or weight or any other physical dimensions refers to growth, whereas development is a qualitative change. It's a change in functions, not just the structure. A child who's not speaking starts speaking. A child who's not walking starts walking. These are qualitative changes. Haven't we seen a caterpillar which turns into a butterfly finally? So, the transition from a caterpillar to a butterfly is development. Initially, the caterpillar just grows in size. It eats, grows in size, then forms a cocoon around itself, and one fine day, it emerges as a lovely butterfly. So, this is development. And there are various determinants of development.
The most important factors which affect development are, of course, genetic or hereditary, then the environment in which the child is growing, and the last one is the self of the child. So first, let me talk about the genetic or hereditary components of development. We see that the genetics determines not only just the color or the size of the child, but it also determines many other functions. For example, the speech development is very much dependent on hereditary factors. Whenever we have a child who is not really speaking early, we find that even his parents, either one or both of the parents, have had difficulty in speaking early. Both the parents or one of them has started speaking a little late, and this child will also start speaking late, but he will catch up eventually. Another important factor which we see like this is nocturnal enuresis or wetting the bed in the night. So bed wetting is also hereditary, and we find that if one or both the parents have this problem in their childhood, the child is more likely to have bedwetting a little longer than normal children. So these are some of the things which are affected by the genetic factors. The second factor which affects development is the atmosphere or the environment in which he is growing. Most important is the stimulation that the child is getting. So we see a normal child who is growing up in a family who is looked after by both the parents and many times the grandparents and aunts and uncles, and the child starts growing very well. As against that, if you see a child who is growing in an orphanage where one person is looking after 4 or 5 children, there you find that this child may have a little delay in the milestones. So this child, once it starts getting stimulation, normally the milestones do pick up. But initially, when the stimulation is less, this child may be a little delayed. One example which I vividly remember is that of a mother who brought her 1.5-year-old son to me. This son was late in talking. The aunt of this child was also there with the parents, and she told me that her children had started speaking at the age of 1 year, but this child, even at 1.5 years, was hardly speaking a word or two. So they were really worried about it. When I examined the child, I found out that this child's hearing was absolutely normal, but the child was not able to speak much. Then when I went into the details of the history, I realized that this family, the mother, father and this child, were staying in Gulf. The father was busy with his work throughout the day. The mother was alone at home and she was severely depressed. She was so depressed that she would not talk to the child even a sentence or two throughout the day. And that's why this child was not getting any stimulation with the speech. And that's why the speech of this child was delayed. When we realized that this was the factor which was delaying the speech, we asked the family to see to it that the child is talked to often and they are communicating with the child very often. And within the next 2 or 3 months, when the child was living in a joint family, we could see positive changes in the child's speech. So once the stimulation was restored, this child's milestone picked up very fast.
Well, we are talking about the determinants of development of a child. There has been this nature nurture controversy. Which is more important? Is nature important or is nurture important? Both are important. And there is another important determinant of development of a child, that is the child's self. Don't we find that each child is unique in his or her own ways? Apart from his or her parents and apart from his or her environment. So let us remember that each child in this universe is unique, number one, and hence, secondly, it is irrational or wrong, fundamentally wrong to compare any two children. Therefore, it's important for us to understand development of a child from all these three dimensions. During the pandemic, we have observed many children who were brought to us with delayed milestones or developmental difficulties relating to speech, relating to reading, writing, relating to movement, relating to academics and whatnot. They might have had certain hereditary genetic predisposition, but due to lack of stimulation, due to deprivation of stimulation during the pandemic, many of their difficulties appear to be exaggerated. And we will narrate a few cases in the next episode. So please stay tuned in.